Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. In today's video we're going to be fully breaking down Monday Night Raw. I know last night we posted our thoughts on the opener, which we'll just barely be touching on in today's full review since we did do a absolute deep dive on the opener of Monday Night Raw last night. So if you want to see my thoughts on the opener of Monday Night Raw, go to that video that I posted last night. It's not very long, but we just broke down everything that happened and our thoughts on what could potentially happen whenever we're leading up to WrestleMania. So we're going to jump kind of back into it, and then we're going to talk about everything else that happened since we did leave out a lot of big parts. So let's just jump right into it with the full Monday Night Raw review. Obviously, we kicked off the night with Paul Heyman and the Vision coming out, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed still being injured, and not on Monday Night Raw. We would see the three come out, and like I said in yesterday's video, I think that the Vision is still looking pretty strong with Logan and Austin, but they are taking some losses, and they're definitely doing some things that are not making them look strong whenever Braun and Bronson is out. I feel like that the storyline we might be able to go after whenever Braun and Bronson come back is that Braun kind of holds the group accountable, because they made some stupid decisions by chasing the Masked Man and leaving the Wise Man Paul Heyman in the ring to eventually get hit with a chair and curb stomped by Seth Rollins to end up bringing him to the hospital, which led to LA Knight driving the ambulance and Jimmy Uso attacking Austin Theory and Logan Paul. So LA Knight would have dropped the ambulance, and also we talked about this last night, but I would love to see WWE dive into the storyline like how we did right here. LA Knight pretty much kidnapped Paul Heyman in the ambulance and drove off. We'd never seen LA Knight or Paul Heyman again at the rest of the whole entire show. So I would really be intrigued if we went for the kidnapping storyline where Logan Paul and Austin Theory had to try to get Paul Heyman back from LA Knight and Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso. But I don't think they're going to do that. He'll just be back on Raw next week, but it would be a cool storyline. But yeah, the opener was really cool. Obviously, Rollins is back. He returned at the Elimination Chamber, and I find it super cool. I always love whenever we get returns like this, but Rollins was a huge one. He's been out for a good minute, and I think that it is just so good to get Seth Rollins back. So I was really impressed with that opener. Gunther would face Dragon Lee. Now, Dragon obviously wanted to get his get back for AJ Styles, which was his tag team partner before AJ Styles got retired by Gunther, which is now why Dragon Lee is going after Gunther. And the match has finally come. They faced on Raw, and Gunther would tap out Dragon Lee after ripping off his mask. Which, by the way, we could have done a lot cleaner. You know, if you look back at it, it exposes his whole face before Gunther puts him in the sleeper. So, Dragon's exposed, but either way, the match was really fun. I liked how WWE did it, and it kind of gave Gunther some more power points. Now, I don't think Gunther needs to be beating anybody else that's powerful. He needs to just keep beating guys like Dragon Lee, because, dude, the amount of power he has, he should be world champion. He retired John Cena, Goldberg, and AJ Styles all in 2025 and 2026. So, I mean, if that ain't the most momentum you can get, I don't really know how much more you're going to get. So, if WWE doesn't put a title on him in the next 2 months minimum, then there's serious problems. Because the fact that you just had him beat 3 absolute legends of the WWE, and now you're letting him beat Dragon Lee, which, honestly, you needed to make Dragon look strong because now he's missing his tag team partner. So WWE is fully going all in on Gunther, but as we see here, they're kind of wasting a rivalry on Dragon Lee. So I'm really intrigued to see what WWE will do with Dragon Lee in these next upcoming weeks, because we really need to be doing something, or else Dragon Lee and Gunther both will be going to waste. But I am definitely worried for Dragon Lee, because he is now without a tag team partner, and he just got tapped out by Gunther and unmasked. Don't know about y'all, but I'm smelling a Axiom situation, but just in singles form, which is even more dangerous. So, Dragon Lee could be in serious trouble of getting moved back down to NXT or worse. And I'm saying that because he was a dog in NXT. He was one of the best North American champions in NXT history, and I just think that it is so bad that WWE not only paired him up with AJ Styles before his retirement, which they knew was going to leave him in a bad spot whenever AJ retired. So I just really hope Dragon Lee doesn't fall into a faction or have to join a faction just to be relevant. But that's what it's probably going to come down to. He's probably going to be for the Judgment Day again, if I had to guess, and go after Dominic, or now Penta, which would be a banger of a match. So I would really, really be excited to see what Dragon does, but I just hope WWE doesn't waste that talent like they did with Kushida, which y'all remember is now a huge part of the indie scene. But y'all remember how I felt about Kushida getting released from NXT, because man, he was tapping people out with that Kimura, and I mean, it was just so dangerous. And now Dragon Lee, super high flying guy, really great in the ring, and we really don't even get to test his mic work. So I think that him versus Penta would be a heck of a first offense for Penta if he doesn't go after and get a rematch against Dominic and then go against Danhausen. So I would really love to see Dragon Lee fall into that Intercontinental Championship little title picture, because I don't want him getting released or worse. So that would just not be good. Then we would see Austin Theory versus Jimmy Uso. A quick match which would lead to Logan Paul coming out and beating up Jimmy Uso, where Jey Uso had to come out and save him. I don't really know what we're doing with this, honestly. Obviously, we're just trying to spare time before Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker get back so we can kind of resume the Seth Rollins rivalry. But now Rollins is going after Paul Heyman. We didn't see Rollins during this match between Jimmy and Theory. So obviously we're still trying to make a little time gap for Jimmy and Jey to still get their runs in, and Austin and Logan maybe be in a tag team whenever Braun and Bronson come back. I would love to see that. They're good as a tag team. They're good in the ring. But overall, I think that what they did here just wasn't the right decision. Obviously, Austin's mad that Jimmy attacked his wise man and attacked them, or attacked Austin and Logan and not Paul Heyman. But I just find it very interesting. First, Jey gets put in an ambulance on SmackDown. Now, Seth puts Paul in an ambulance. It's just not adding up. So, what WWE is doing, I'm hoping they got it under control, but it's looking a bit reckless. Then we would see AJ Lee come out. AJ Lee obviously winning the Women's Intercontinental Championship away from Becky Lynch at the Elimination Chamber. AJ would come out and say that Becky is behind her. Ever since AJ Lee came back to a enormous pop, we have seen her go after Becky Lynch time in and time out. It's been every single time she's came back. WrestlePalooza, we had the match between Punk and AJ and Becky and Rollins. And then AJ would face Becky on multiple other PLEs. So there's just too many occasions where Becky and AJ have faced each other. And maybe WWE's just like, hey, I'm fed up with it. We're fed up with the consistency of the storyline where it's just over and over and over. So let's switch it up. But also, what AJ did was kind of made a call out during the segment. She obviously said that she wants to face all the best women in the locker room, and she kind of had like a little open challenge there, but WWE didn't capitalize on that and didn't send anybody out there. But I do want to speak on that, because some people that I do think that could face her, obviously AJ saying during this promo that she's a fighting champion and she wants to give everybody an opportunity, and that she said that she's not waiting until WrestleMania. AJ Lee's obviously going to have a spot on the Mania card, defending that Intercontinental Championship, so she's definitely not losing it this month in March or in April leading up to WrestleMania. There's just no shot. Now, one thing that I was, kind of concerned about, or one match that I was looking at, now, I do think that it's probably wrong, but I do want to make it known to keep an eye on. Obviously, we know Becky Lynch had a rivalry with Maxine Dupree whenever Maxine took the title away from Becky after AJ costed her. So I think that we could definitely run that back. We could have Becky and Maxine go back at each other, and then AJ join in that rivalry, maybe have a triple threat or potentially a fatal four-way, including Natalya or Natty now. So is that fatal four-way possible for the Women's Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania? I personally couldn't see it happening. But there's 2 nights. There's obviously going to be some matches that we're not completely all in on that don't have good storylines. So I would not be surprised if WWE includes AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, which is like the 2 biggest women's superstars in WWE, and including them in the WrestleMania by putting them in a fatal four-way potentially, and putting a legend like Natalya in, and somebody that's a rising star in Maxine Dupree already winning at the Women's Intercontinental Championship and beating a legend in Becky Lynch. So there's momentum on every side in that fatal four-way if we do pull the trigger on that, but I just think that it'd be so interesting if we do personally. Natalya, we would also hear from Natalya. She would go back at Maxine Dupree whenever Netflix was on commercial, and she would say, take it from a killer they tried to say was a bimbo. You're a bimbo trying to be a killer. So now Natalya's Natty is I gotta get in the habit of calling her Natty. I like the Natty character way better than Natalya. The pink just doesn't fit Natalya. But Natty is just a different beast. So now Natty's kind of blaming or saying that Maxine Dupree is a wannabe killer. she's a wannabe powerful superstar. I don't really know how we could put that. But Natty's kind of saying that Maxine Dupree's a phony. She's saying that she's not a real killer. So I'm guessing we're going to revisit that match again. Obviously, last time we did it, it was due to a stoppage with Natty running Maxine into the pole and then the match being stopped. So obviously we have to revisit that, but what do we do whenever we revisit it? Do we give Maxine the win? I guess you kind of have to, but also you're trying to introduce a new character in Natty, which not a lot of people have seen if they don't watch the indie scene. So it's a character to be shown, and WWE needs to do a better chance of doing it, but I do like how it was a stoppage against Maxine Dupree because I didn't want Maxine to lose. So, huge there. Really loved that. I think that it was really cool. And something that we need to be looking at. We need to be looking at Natalya and Maxine going into WrestleMania. I think that is just going to be a very huge part of WrestleMania personally. We would then see Finn Balor, or the rest of the Judgment Day backstage, except for Roxanne Perez, of course. And Finn Balor would say that he was disappointed in JD McDonough and Dominic. And I think that this is ridiculous. Finn made some very, very non-valid points during this show. Finn would say that he was disappointed that JD and Dominic wasn't in his corner at the Elimination Chamber. Now we remember that Finn had a whole... He was showing out saying that he wanted to do it on his own. He wanted to beat CM Punk on his own. And so now, he's blaming the reason that he lost on the Judgment Day, which is very clearly a tactic to just get out of the Judgment Day. And then Dominic would ask Finn if he's going to be in his corner for his match against Penta, which Finn would say yes. Finn would then show up in the match against Penta, which we will dive into. Actually, you know what? I mean, we'll dive into this right now. Actually, we'll kind of skip a little bit ahead of the show, and then we'll come back and do the things that were in between. Before Dominic's match against Penta for the Intercontinental Championship, he was cursed by Danhausen, which, by the way, I want to take a little second to talk about this. This was Danhausen's first appearance on Monday Night Raw and actually being able to talk on the mic. He was there with Adam Pearce. He scared Adam Pearce, and then he gave Adam Pearce a list of things that he wants. He wants to be in the 2026 Hall of Fame. He wants a pointing picture with Triple H, which he did get, and I think that it is very, very cool how they're doing this. I think that obviously a lot of people doubted Danhausen's abilities in the WWE just because of how WWE introduced him to the universe. I think that what WWE did to introduce him to the WWE Universe was not the best thing they could have done, but at the same time, you know, that's his character, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, I think that the coffin and everything and the girls running out, I don't think that was needed. I think it just could have been Danhausen, but it was cool just because Danhausen could tap into his real character and what he likes to do. But he would end up cursing Dominic Mysterio, which they would laugh at, and then he would disappear. So it's going to be really fun to see where this leads us. Dominic would then go on and would lose to Penta, and JD McDonough throughout the match was trying to give Dominic Mysterio the bell to ring the bell, and he was trying to give him that, but Finn stopped him and said no, he's going to do it on his own. And Finn said that Dominic wanted to do it on his own. Dominic said that he actually wanted help. Finn said that he wanted to do it on his own, so Finn's got things a little bit messed up. I don't know if that was, you know, a botch or whatever, but Dominic had never said he wanted to face Penta on his own. So that's just interesting. But Penta would win the Intercontinental Championship, and Penta is the new champion. Who could Penta face? Now, obviously, we could go back to Dragon Lee, but I just do not want Gunther being introduced to this Intercontinental Championship. I don't. Because we know Gunther is a lot better than Penta right now, and he's going to win the championship if he gets the opportunity. And we know that Penta and Gunther have history, so WWE could just see that and say, hey, let's run it. But I just hope not, because it would really be bad for Penta, and I don't want him to lose the title early just because he's worked so hard to get there. Rusev would stand on the announcer's table and call out Oba Femi. He would say that everybody's scared of Oba except for him. So Oba would come out and absolutely just squash Rusev in like minutes. And then it would get announced that next week they will face again. So it just makes no sense at all. WWE's rerunning the Rusev versus Oba match next week, even though Oba was in street clothes. I mean, Oba didn't even try, but it's very, very interesting. We would see Rhea Ripley come out, obviously winning the Elimination Chamber on Saturday she would come out and say that she is not going to leave Io Sky in the rearview mirror. Io would say that she's going to be fine on Raw while Rhea takes care of her business on SmackDown. So now we can expect Rhea Ripley on the blue brand and talking to Jade Cargill week in and week out to build up to this WrestleMania. Now, what do we expect for Io Sky on Monday Night Raw? Obviously, I think the Kabuki Warriors are a big part of that just because they've been going back and forth with them. Do we see Rhea potentially have an interaction with Lash Legend and Nia Jax while she's on SmackDown? I would like to see that. I think that that'd be really cool. A little attention to detail, so maybe we could have... I mean, obviously, I think we all know that Rhea's going to win at WrestleMania. I don't think that's a debate. Now, WWE could throw us a curveball whenever it comes Mania time and have Jade beat Rhea, but there's going to have to be some serious, build-up, because Jade's not strong at all. Not physically, but her character is not strong at all, and she's not somebody who is going to have the power to beat Rhea Ripley, which people say is the golden woman of WWE. So, no, I just don't think that Jade Cargill can beat Rhea. It's just not possible. If it is, there's going to be some serious hating online from fans that obviously want to see Rhea Ripley win a singles championship and a major championship like this. But then you also look at it from the bigger picture after WrestleMania. If Rhea beats Jade Cargill, that leaves Io Sky 100% stuck on Monday Night Raw, and Rhea's just going to have to defend that title week in and week out on SmackDown and not be able to visit Io on Raw. So, at some point, we're going to have to see Rio split up. We're going to have to see them part their separate ways and become their own superstars like we know they both can, because Io beat Rhea. And I think that's why they're such a dangerous tag team, is because they know each other's tactics. And if they're not together, then it's just going to be a rivalry. So, I'm excited, but also not, to see what we can do with that. I think that Rhea and Io is eventually going to have to split up. But WWE is already looking for options to get Io on a singles run, because there was a gauntlet match for the number one contenders for the Intercontinental Championship set for next week. It will be Lyra Valkyria versus Bayley versus Io Sky versus Raquel Rodriguez versus Asuka and versus Ivy Nile. So, obviously, the only three that, or really the only four that have a chance at even getting near this is very obviously Raquel, Io, Bayley, and Lyra. We can go ahead and check out Asuka and Ivy. They pretty much have no chance. Unless we want to go with Ivy. I mean, I would not be opposed to going with Ivy. I don't like Ivy in the ring or on the mic. But, and yeah, never mind. I'm scratching that out too, because I'm not a huge fan of AJ Lee on the mic. You know, a lot of people are probably going to be mad at that, but I just don't like AJ Lee on the mic. Personally, I just think it's not the best mic work I've ever seen. But I find it very cool how WWE is already setting up Intercontinental Championship opportunities for AJ Lee to be a fighting champion, so maybe that tells us that times are running out for her to be active in the WWE. I just want to make that clear. Who do I think is going to win this gauntlet match, though? Personally, I'll just go ahead and say Io. Sure. We'll go with Io. But it's between Bayley and Io. I think Io's the best opportunity just because Rhea's going to go on to win at Mania. Or, we could do some building in the next 2 months, and we could just completely get Io powered up while Rhea's on SmackDown and get her that title opportunity, even if she doesn't win this gauntlet match. But it's going to be hard to do for sure. And in the main event, Roman Reigns and CM Punk would go back at it again. We know the last time we saw Roman Reigns and CM Punk in the same ring together with a promo about 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, they absolutely cooked. Nobody really made it too personal, but Roman Reigns did bring up some things that were pretty personal. But last night on Monday Night Raw, CM Punk made it so personal that Roman Reigns has to come back with the most insane promo we've ever seen. At the end of the promo, CM Punk says that after WrestleMania, he's going to bury Roman Reigns beside his dad. There is no shot you're letting that slide. Roman Reigns has to come back with the craziest promo ever next week. Or I think he's actually skipping next week. So on March 16th, Roman Reigns has to come back and just be absolutely aggressive. Now, the first promo, talking about the Zebras and everything like that, that was picture perfect by Roman Reigns. CM Punk won this rivalry, or won this promo. It's 1-1. I gave the first promo to Roman Reigns just because of how absolutely great it was. And I've rewatched it. I've kind of, analyzed it. I think that they are now 1-1 in promos. They're tied. But, man, the promo was incredible. These two are insane. we would see Roman Reigns also touch on the tweet that he sent after Elimination Chamber saying that Punk looked tired, and Punk would say that the tweet didn't bother him, but he said that he is tired. That he's tired of carrying the weight on his shoulders, of carrying the championship and being the face of the brand. But it is just insane. Roman said a few things too, and Roman said that he's going to retire Punk, which I would love to see. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously we still need Punk for many, many more years, but if there was one person that I wanted to do it, obviously it has to be a young guy, but I would love to see my Tribal Chief Roman Reigns retire CM Punk, but it's just never going to happen. I don't really hope to see that. I don't want neither of these guys to retire right here just because I love both of them. Obviously Roman Reigns is my GOAT. I don't want Roman Reigns to retire by any means, and hopefully there's no stakes that come in before WrestleMania being like loser retires. That would not be good. But hey, what a promo. And also, one thing I want to touch on before we close out this episode, Royce Keys had a match on Main Event. Obviously Main Event is the show that, or the few matches, one or two matches that happened before Monday Night Raw, and Royce Keys defeated Grayson Waller in a match before Raw. So that was pretty good to know. I know, obviously I haven't been looking at who's on the speed tournaments after on Monday Night Raw before, and maybe he's had matches on Main Event before, but this is the first one I've seen. And you know what's crazy? I do want to kind of talk about this because Royce Keys has not gotten a chance to show himself on any brand except for the Royal Rumble. This is insane, fellas. Like, it's a huge prospect coming from AEW. You have Danhausen come back in the box, and you instantly, like, 2 days later, have him be on Monday Night Raw. But it's been 2 months, and you still haven't had Royce Keys on any brand. Like, Obafemi is still a free agent. Royce Keys hasn't even shown up to any brand to be a free agent on any brand. And, I mean, they're just doing it so wrong. They're doing it so wrong. Like, they're obviously taking their focus on Danhausen and the NXT talent coming up. They definitely didn't need Royce Keys if they're going to treat him like this. TNA would have loved to have him. The indie scene would have absolutely had a field day with him. And honestly, AEW, the Ops, would be fine with him too, especially with Samoa Joe being injured. So, let me know down below what y'all thought about Monday Night Raw. I thought it was absolutely incredible. What a show it was. We'll be back for NXT either tonight or tomorrow. We'll either do the full review tonight or the full review tomorrow. Just be tuned in on the page on which one we do. And then Wednesday we got Dynamite. Thursday we have Impact. Friday we have SmackDown. Saturday we have Collision. It just keeps going. So keep tuning into the channel. We'll keep doing these reviews. And I hope I will see y'all boys in the next video. Deuces, ooses.